Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society. I call this video Ranking Are You Afraid of the Dark? Season 1 from worst to best. Today I'm going to be ranking Season 1 of Are You Afraid of the Dark, the original, from least compelling to most compelling. Now this is based on storyline, general spookiness, just if I thought it was good or not, all of that. There are 13 episodes in Season 1, so we're going from 13 to 1. Coming in at number 13 is actually episode 5, The Tale of the Hungry Hounds. I honestly had no choice but to rank this episode dead last because I feel like it's a throwaway episode. And I honestly don't even know why they subjected the children or me to have to watch this. They got one of the girls dressed like she's a 35-year-old divorcee. At one point the music is way louder than their voices. Like, who did the audio mixing on this? It's a summertime story. It's one of those I'm visiting my aunt for the summer type of things. And basically this girl really wants to ride horses, but her mom is like, no, we don't really mess with horses because her mom's sister died in a horse accident. And so she refuses to let her daughter ride. Understandable. But then, like bored children tend to do, the two cousins start getting into stuff they really shouldn't be getting into, and then they pull out a Ouija board. And that's right around where they lost me, because why are you trying to communicate with the dead? That communication works, and they end up contacting the mom's dead sister. The dead sister starts taking over the body of one of the little girls. But this for me is where they completely lose the plot, because the whole story from that point on goes from it's this ghost that we brought back to life to we gotta feed these dogs.
I've come to feed the hounds.
You should have fed them while they were alive.
And that's why it's called The Tale of the Hungry Hounds. I guess the dead aunt ended up dying before she could feed her dogs for the night, and so, bless her soul, this whole entire time, her unfinished business, shout out to Casper.
You know, unfinished business. All ghosts have unfinished business. That's why they don't cross over.
Her unfinished business has been, I need to feed these dogs. And so the rest of the storyline becomes about her trying to feed these dogs. At least from what I got. I don't know. It was kind of hard to follow because it wasn't that interesting. But that's what I got. In the end, she ends up feeding the dog. Everything goes back to normal. But I guess the twist here, because as you'll notice, a lot of the Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes tend to have a twist. The twist here is that maybe everything didn't go back to normal, and maybe the sister continued to take over the little girl's body, because there's a part where at the end, the little girl who's supposed to be herself again says, oh, well, I gotta go feed my dogs. And it's like, did you say dogs with an S? Because in present day, the little girl only has one dog.
Come on, I gotta go feed the dogs. What dogs? You only have one. That's what I said. I have to feed the dog. You said dogs. You said I have to feed the dogs. Did not. You did too. Did not. Did too. Who cares what I said? What's wrong with you?
There were only multiple dogs during the dead sister's timeline. So it's like, why'd you say dogs when you only have one? So that's the twist. It's like, maybe she didn't return to her body. And I get it. I get where they were going with it. But in my humble opinion, this episode just fell short. It was weak. It's the weakest episode out of the entire season 1. And so I'm just gonna forget about it, and you should too. Moving on to number 12, which is actually episode 10, The Tale of Jake and the Leprechaun. Now off top, I had very high hopes for this episode because I grew up watching Leprechaun in the Hood, and I just expect, you know, a different caliber from my Leprechaun movies. This one did not deliver. Another story that in my opinion fell very short. This is very much a fantasy type of story, so there's leprechauns and other mystical creatures. It follows a child actor who I guess is having his very first play performance. The other lead is this old man who is obsessed with drinking this herbal tea that he makes himself. Like, he's herbal tea all day. In the plot of the play, the boy has to end up drinking this tea, along with a couple of lines that he ends up saying.
Dance and sing, the mortal gloom a dying thing.
Turn me now into spirit bright and leave behind the human plight.
And it turns out that these lines in this tea is part of a spell that the old man is putting on him in order to take his soul. Great concept, but again, poor execution. I don't know. I just really wanted more out of it. In the end, the boy ends up tricking the old man because he has help from, I guess, a leprechaun. Like, I don't know what this other person was supposed to be playing. He has help from this leprechaun who ends up helping him outsmart the old man. But it's just like, I don't know. It was a very boring episode. So I really couldn't tell you how all that played out. But it was pushing for number 13. But the Hungry Hounds beat it out. But pause. It came in close, which is why it's number 12. Hey y'all, it's Nate. Welcome back to my little corner of YouTube. And welcome to my Vlogtober special, When Fear Meets Nostalgia. Today's show really needs no introduction, but just in case you don't know what it is, today I'm talking about Are You Afraid of the Dark, the original, which is a 90s kids anthology horror show. that aired on Nickelodeon. It's in the same era as Goosebumps, but I feel like Goosebumps is more for kids to tweens, whereas Are You Afraid of the Dark is more tweens to teens. Obviously to adults, because I still love it to this day. It's set around this exclusive club made up of kids from all different schools. They call the club the Midnight Society, hence them meeting at midnight. And they sit around a campfire, and every single week a new person tells a kind of horror thriller story that they've either heard or written. I actually think the idea is that they come up with the story themselves. That's kind of the point of it. It's like you have to get brought into the club. And every single story starts off with them saying,
"Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, I call this story."
Which is why I started this video that way. Thank you so much for checking out my Vlogtober special, and we're gonna get right back into it. For number 11, we actually have episode 1, The Tale of the Phantom Cab. Now it does get a few bonus points because it's the pilot episode and we can't put too much on it. And it also gives a little background about the Midnight Society, who they are, what they do, so I enjoy seeing that. They had these kids going across the screen like they were in a police lineup. We also find out in this episode that in order to get invited to the Midnight Society, you have to be sponsored, like this is an AA meeting or something.
Who sponsors Frank?
I do. He's a good guy. Yeah, but can he tell a good story?
Who said that? To be a member, you have to tell us a scary tale. Then we vote. And it has to be unanimous or you're not in.
Now, for the pilot episode, two brothers get lost in the woods. And, you know, it's getting late and they're like, our mom is going to beat our asses if we don't get home right now. And so they're walking in the woods. They come across this man who's like, oh, are you guys lost? Don't trip. The homie lives over here in this house. And so this stranger that they meet in the woods, first mistake, takes them to this man's house. And this man's like, oh, are y'all lost? Y'all need to call y'all parents? Don't worry, I got a phone. But first, before I let you use the phone, you gotta get one of these riddles right. And so he gives the kids a riddle.
What is it that has no weight, can be seen by the naked eye, and if you put it in a barrel, it would make the barrel lighter?
My personal fear, because I'm terrible at riddles and puzzles and all that, it's just not my forte. And it wasn't these kids' forte either, because they don't get it right. And the man's like, I guess you didn't get it right. You can't call your parents. And he sends them back out into the wilderness. And he's like, I'm not completely leaving you out in the cold, because this cab is going to come around. And if you get in the cab, he'll take you home. They see the cab, they get in the cab, only to find out that the cab driver is the original man who they met in the forest. And he's like, yeah, I was really hoping that y'all would get that riddle right, because I didn't get it right when I was a kid, and I've been trapped in this forest ever since. So turns out him and the old man at the house was in cahoots. And he's like, y'all still have about 45 seconds to guess this riddle. If not, I'm gonna crash this car into a tree, and then we're all gonna die and become ghost hair. And like, that's the entire premise of the pilot. Like, that is the story. It's kind of intense for a first story, no? But of course, just in the nick of time, one of the brothers does get the riddle right, and he saves them, and they get to go back home, and everything is all good. Like I said, for what it is, you have to appreciate it. I love the 90s insults being hurled at this little boy by his brother. It's very 90s coded.
You got us lost, cheeseball.
We're not lost.
Watch it. Great lame wad. Now we're lost and we can't read the map. You are such a loser.
They also have this we love each other but we can't show it because we're boys thing going on, which I also feel like is very 90s coded.
We broke the curse. We're saved.
But the acting in this episode in particular was absolutely terrible. I don't know where they got these kid actors from, but they were not ready for this pilot, okay? It was just the worst. So yeah, it's the pilot. So like I said, you got to put some respect on it, but I can't rank it that high. Coming in at number 10, we have episode 4, The Tale of the Twisted Claw. Now this one I had high hopes for because it's a Halloween story, and what better time to do horror than on Halloween? But again, I feel like this episode fell short. It's about a creepy witch who lives in a creepy house. None of the kids ever want to go by because who wants to go to a witch's house? But one Halloween, these two boys do decide to go to her house, and they're like, oh, they're saying we're gonna get so much clout because we're the only boys brave enough to go to her house. And so she's like, oh, I'm so grateful for you stopping by my house. No one ever comes by. They probably think my house is haunted. Pause. Why are you saying that? Why would you say they probably think your house is haunted unless your house is haunted?
I just love Halloween, but no children ever stop by. Maybe they think the place is haunted.
That should have been their first. See, these kids don't be paying attention. We had too much freedom in the 90s. Too much freedom, not enough true crime TV shows. Because if somebody would have said that, they fully walked into her house. They didn't stay at the door, fully walked in and was like, hello, creepy witch lady. Way too much freedom. Put these kids on leashes. I support that now. And so she's like, okay, I'm so happy that you guys stopped by. I'm going to give you a special gift. And she makes it known that this is a trick and not a treat. And she gives them this claw that is a magical claw. And it's your standard 3 wishes type of claw. However, in this case, each boy gets their own 3 wishes, not 3 total. So 6 total, 3 for each of them. Of course, they don't believe that is real. One of the boys, without even realizing it, says, I wish this night was over. I'm tired of trick-or-treating. I want to go home. And he does that, and he's like, did something just happen? Because this claw felt like something just happened. And the other boy's like, what are you talking about? Like, don't be a doofus. Something like that. Some 90s insult. Don't be a doofus. Nothing happened. Let's go finish trick-or-treating. But because the other boy had made that wish, they don't get to finish trick-or-treating. They actually end up getting robbed and having their candy stolen by these bullies who are very much giving purge anarchy energy. They went full purge on these little boys. And so they cut their losses, they go home, whatever. Next day at school, the other boy's like, see, my wish came true. And the other boy's like, I don't believe you. But just in case you are telling the truth, I'm gonna go ahead and make a wish too. And I'm gonna wish that I win this race against this boy who I don't like. Basically, the boy who's always coming in as number 1. He's like, I want to beat him. So he's like, I wish I could win the race. And of course, he wins the race. And he wins it because the other kid gets mauled by a dog and breaks his leg. That's how he wins the race. And he has no problem with that. He's like, I don't care who, what, when, where, why, and how I won this race. I'm just glad I won. If that was not a sign to not use this thing again, I don't know what was. Later on, one of the kids is like, look, we need to return this claw to the witch and apologize for anything we've ever done to her, ding dong ditch, whatever. We need to apologize to her. And the other kid's like, forget that. I still got 2 wishes left. And the other kid's like, my parents will want me to do the right thing.
I say we take this back to Miss Cloves and apologize. Then I can tell my folks we did the right thing. And forget it. No one is telling nobody nothing. But my folks. But my folks. I wish you'd just lose your folks.
Now this other kid gets a phone call from a random cop like, hey, your parents got into an accident. They ain't making it home.
Is this Douglas Freeman?
Yes?
This is Lieutenant Crothers from the Cooper City Police. I have some bad news for you, son. Your parents have been in a car accident. They've been taken to the hospital, and I'm afraid...
No!
Why was the call so nonchalant? Who's making these calls? And 90s kids really were built different. So in the end, obviously, nobody wants anyone's parents to go away. They end up wishing that they never got the claw. They never did anything to make the witch upset. And everything goes back to normal. Again, love the concept of this. I even don't hate the execution, but I wish it would have given me just a little bit more. Like maybe everything didn't get to return to normal. Maybe they made too many wishes. Maybe there was a clause they didn't know about, maybe they stuck with their decisions. Coming in at number 9 is episode 3, The Tale of the Lonely Ghost. First things first, shout out to my girl with the 90s side ponytail. She's living all of our dreams. This is another I'm staying with my family for the summer episode. In this one, the younger, more reserved cousin is visiting her older, teenage angst cousin who can't stand her. Funnily enough, the scariest thing about this episode is just how obnoxious the older cousin is.
You don't even know my friends.
They could get to know me.
Why? It's not like just anyone can hang with us. You have to prove you're not a Zeeb. I'm going roller skating.
Don't touch my stuff. You're a chicken and a snitch. I couldn't stand being you. If you touch her contaminated, wrinkly old hand, I'll never let you touch my things again.
And she's probably so upset because she still has a nanny like a toddler when she's pushing 17.
Don't you ever talk to her.
Who is she?
My nanny, and I want her gone.
Why?
Because I'm too old for a nanny.
Now, the older cousin's mom is a realtor, and one of the houses that she's trying to sell is actually right next door to them. And this house also happens to be the nanny's old house. And they're having a hard time selling it because, of course, everybody thinks it's haunted. And it actually turns out that this one is haunted. This one is, in fact, actually haunted. Now, we later find out that the nanny used to live in this house, and her daughter went missing, so she wants to stay close to the house because it's the last piece of her daughter that she has left, even though she never actually goes into the house, which is important because it comes up later. Because it turns out that her daughter actually got trapped inside of a mirror in her bedroom in the house. And so that's where she's been this whole time. And so they drag this lady kicking and screaming into her old house. She's like, I don't want to go. She's having flashbacks. She's triggered. And they're like, come on, come in and get in this house. Get in this house, Rebecca.
No, I can't.
You have to.
No, it's too hard.
And they take her into the house and she sees her daughter there. Now, this episode does have a very sweet ending, which is why I'm giving it the ranking that I'm giving it. In the end, Nanny ends up reunited with her daughter. She walks into the mirror. They're going to live in there forever. I think that this episode got a higher rating for me because mirrors actually terrify me. I actually saw the movie Mirrors probably way too young, and I was afraid of mirrors for about a week after that. I was so afraid of mirrors for about a week after that. So for me, the concept of mirrors being this this kind of portal to the other side is very real. There's also this nostalgic feeling that I get of like your cousin's trying to scare you, because the reason that they found out that the little girl was living in the mirror is because the older cousin dared the younger cousin to spend the night in the haunted house, because she was like, you can't hang out with me and my friends, like basically on some, you can't sit with us unless you spend the night in this haunted house. And so that's how she ended up going in the house and finding the little girl. And so it's just that nostalgic of like older cousins kind of being there to, you know, toughen you up a little bit. In addition to that, we have a love story brewing between the main cast.
I'll lock it like in your story. You like it? I love it. It's beautiful. What do you think?
Perfect. I knew it would be.
I'll think of you every time I wear it. Forever.
I've actually never watched this show all the way through to actually follow the main cast stories, but maybe I should do that because I'm sure there's a whole little thing. There's a whole little B plot going on there. Coming in at number 8 is episode 8. It appears the stars have aligned. This is the tale of the nightly neighbors. Now, I was never really into vampires. I did take a film history class in college, and honestly, to this day, one of my favorite electives that I ever took. I love that class. I love learning about the history of film and all of that. And so in that class, because it was history, we had to watch Nosferatu. And so I got a little bit of vampire knowledge there, but I don't really remember too much of it. But outside of that, my vampire knowledge solely comes from Twilight, don't judge me, and Sinners. That's about the extent of my vampire knowledge. Off top, they gave these people the most stereotypical vampire accents that they could have given them.
Study different techniques we can bring back to our country.
It's absolutely fascinating work.
Now, these are new neighbors who basically move into the neighborhood, and as soon as they move into the neighborhood, they start slowly sucking the blood and the life out of everybody who lives near them, even the mailman who's just coming to drop off the mail. And the little girl next door is starting to suspect, hey, I think these people might be vampires, and everybody's like, girl, they're not vampires. And they have this cover that they work at the hospital, and so the reason that the little girl found blood in their house is because they're storing it for the hospital. That has to be some kind of HIPAA violation, but nonetheless, that's what they said. That was the excuse. The twist in this story ends up being that the couple has a son, a little boy, and he's the one that's actually like the master of the vampire, and the two parents are just his servants. And so they got in by being like, no one's ever going to suspect that a little boy is a vampire.
You'll feel better soon, Master. You've been invited in by new victims.
You are wise in coming to this country. There is so much more fresh blood here.
And no one believes that a little boy can be a vampire.
Okay, I see where you were going with that. I see the vision. Coming in at number 7 is episode 12, The Tale of the Prom Queen. I love a good prom queen story. This is a pretty classic one, but I do feel like it could have hit just a tad bit harder. This is about an urban legend of a prom queen who dies on prom night. She was waiting for her boyfriend to pick her up. He never came. And so every year on prom night, she hunts that same area, kind of waiting for her boyfriend and just being like, you know, a ghoul and a ghost. Apparently, it turns out that her boyfriend never picked her up because he didn't know he was supposed to pick her up. That's where I'm like, what do you mean? Why wouldn't you know that you need to pick your girlfriend up on prom night? Who else would she be going to prom with? But anyway, he never picked her up and she got hit by a car. And the person who was driving the car didn't see her because it was a foggy night. Now, when it's discovered that she died, her boyfriend gets so upset that he drives his car into a river or a lake or something. The rivers and the lakes that he's used to, child, I don't know. And he also ends up dying. So we have 2 dead teenagers. That's the storyline of this. Now, these 3 kids, which is comprised of these 2 boys who are kind of like the town menaces, it seems like, or like the town outcasts. They end up teaming up with this other girl who's new in town, but also she used to live there, but she just moved back. And they find out that this urban legend is actually true because they're like ghost hunters and they're like, let's go to the town and see if we can look this up. Turns out it actually is true.
Girl killed by hit and run on prom night.
That's it.
It happened just like you said. Fog and all.
And so the girl comes up with this great idea. She's like, look, on prom night, we should try to summon prom girl's boyfriend and have him come pick her up because he didn't know he was supposed to pick her up. So like, that's the whole thing. Is the storyline is about them trying to summon this boy. Now they do end up summoning him. He comes, he picks the girl up. The twist in this story is that the girl who was new in town was actually the prom girl, and she was just pretending to be a current day girl so that she could get somebody to help her solve the mystery. Now here again is where they lost me. If she has the ability to pretend pretend to not be a ghost and to look like somebody else and, you know, to talk to people. Why didn't she have the ability to find out on her own why her boyfriend didn't come pick her up? Now, they tried to get away with this by being like, oh, she couldn't leave, you know, the graveyard because this is where she got hit, so she couldn't leave unless somebody else invited her to go out. I don't know. Whatever. That's how they tried to get around it, but to me, I was like, it's giving gaps in the storyline. So that's why I'm kind of like, I like where it was going, but I don't really like why couldn't they just do that? Coming in at number 6 is episode 9, The Tale of the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Now, I really like the idea of this one. I actually love the idea of this story. It follows this kid who's smart, but he's a terrible test taker, which is a reality. There are a lot of kids who just can't take exams. I'm kind of one of them. Like, you get nervous, it's just hard. And so he's failing his chemistry class. Now, one day in history class, his teacher starts going over all these ancient artifacts and talking about what each of them did. Now, one of the items really catches his eye, and it's this magic scepter.
This scepter belonged to Goth, a particularly nasty magician who enslaved thousands to do his evil bidding.
And he becomes really interested in it, like can't take his eyes off of it. And that's because it starts to take over his mind and his body. Because, you know, magic and such. Eventually, it completely takes over his body. He starts dressing like the late and great Steve Jobs. And he starts controlling other people's minds. So now they have this kind of hive mind thing going. And it turns out that the entity that is overtaking his body is the pharaoh who is the owner of this scepter. And the pharaoh's sole purpose is to eventually take over the whole world by controlling their minds. Kind of like they did with sinners. And in order to do that, he needs to create this mystic fog. Now, this is where the chemistry class comes in. The pharaoh uses the chemicals from the chemistry class in order to create this fog. And he creates this fog kind of on top of the pool in the school. And in creating the fog, he's able to separate his soul from the boy's body. So now he can appear in his regular pharaoh form and the boy's has his body back. And that means that the transformation is almost complete. But just in the nick of time, because it's always in the nick of time, the boy remembers, oh, he used this chemical to make the fog. It's in the pool, which has chlorine in it. All I have to do is put this other chemical in it and I can neutralize it. So he neutralizes it. The pharaoh, you know, dies again, goes back to the underworld or wherever he came from. And that's the end of it. And it's like, okay, that's an okay ending. I like where it's going. They did leave it a little open-ended because they were like, we can make the pharaoh come back again. So I kind of like that. Also, I'm not one to bring up cinematography and something like Are You Afraid of the Dark? But you see how they tilted the camera when they were showing the pharaoh in the kid's body? It's given I don't like your tilted stage. I was here for it. And I think they did that to kind of depict like something is a little off here, something's wrong. Next up we have episode 11, The Tale of the Dark Music. Fun fact, I use a nightlight way longer than most people did and probably way longer than I should have. I'm talking like I was 10 or 11 before I stopped using a nightlight, and I only stopped using it because my mom was like, girl, you too old for a nightlight, and I was like, girl, I'm still terrified, and I was. And so this episode has a kid who's afraid of the dark.
What's the matter, Andy? Afraid of the dark?
And so off top, I connected with this story. Now, this is one of those stories where, you know, his mom inherits a house from her uncle. And you guessed it, the house is haunted. Now, her uncle was rich, but he never left the house. They kind of make it a point to say that because it's going to be important later. So he's giving very old money vibes. So, you know, they're going through the old house. They're like, this house is a mess. We need to clean it. We need to do all this stuff. So the mom sends the son down to the basement. Again, he's afraid of the dark. She sends him down to the basement to have him do all these things. Put the clothes in the laundry, clean up, check lights, do all this stuff. So he goes down there. He's like, I don't want to be scared. So he turns the lights on and he also has some music playing. Spotify Who. But then over time, as he's in this basement, he realizes that he's starting to hear noises and that every single time he plays something on the radio, this portal opens. And depending on what type of music is playing, a different portal opens. So one time he opens this creepy looking doll, which I'm pretty sure I'm going to see in my nightmares because this is terrifying. Another time there's kind of like this circus music playing. So he opens up a circus. During that circus time, he almost gets pulled in and he's like, oh, this is not all in my head. Like these are real entities trying to snatch me up. Now, kind of a B story that becomes an A story. When they move in, his next door neighbor immediately starts bullying him.
You mess with me, kid, and I'll deck you. What? Look, everybody was glad when your nutbag uncle kicked, then you had to show up.
Hey, I never even met the guy.
You're his family, it's the same thing.
He gets his bike ran over by the garbage truck. It's all kind of stuff happening. And so the kid has this great idea of like, oh, I'm gonna trap the bully in the basement. I'm gonna play some music real loud, just long enough to scare him. So he does that. He gets the bully to go down there, but he plays the music for too long, and one of the entities actually does end up taking the bully. And I'm pretty sure this bully gets dragged to hell because he was playing metal music and it was red. So like, where else could he be going? It definitely was not the North Pole, and that was not Santa Claus. When he finds out that the boy gets taken, the next time that he goes back into the basement is when this monster, and this is like the main monster of the basement, and the monster is like,
I'll give you anything you want. Just like I did for your uncle.
Who are you?
Anything you want. You only have to do one thing.
What's that?
Feed me, feed me.
That's how we find out, oh, the uncle had been rich because he was feeding this monster in the basement. So he just been feeding kids to this monster. Feed kids or adults, I don't know. And now Billy ain't no better than his late uncle, and he gonna start feeding the neighborhood children to this monster too. In my opinion, this is a pretty classic story in kid form. How far would you go to get what you want? And so that's why I really liked it. For number 4, we have episode 6, The Tale of the Super Specs. This one is fun because we actually get to see a few of the members of the Midnight Society outside of the Midnight Society and during the daytime and in real time and like actually living lives. It's kind of like seeing your teacher out in public. It's like, no, you only exist in this one form that I know you. Ariana, what are you doing here? That's kind of how I felt. This is a story about magic, and I am a little biased because as a full-grown adult, I love magic. Like, I've been to actual magic shows. I love it. I'm obsessed. Much like the kid in this episode who was also magic and anything magic adjacent obsessed. So he likes pranks and like stuff like that. So him and his girlfriend go to this novelty store because April Fool's Day is coming up, and you know that's a prankster's #1 day. That's like Christmas for them. And so he's like, oh, I gotta buy all this stuff for April Fool's Day. So he ends up buying these glasses. And later on, he's like, I don't really know what I'm gonna do with these. So he gives them to his girlfriend. For whatever reason, whenever she puts them on, she sees these black figures. And I'm talking these black figures are dressed in head to toe in spandex. They kind of look like they're dressed like today's YN. It turns out that for her at least, these glasses open up a portal to a whole nother dimension. And every single time that she puts the glasses on, the other side gets closer and closer and closer to pulling her in and to them exiting. It's kind of giving Us, if you've seen that movie, which you should have. And so they end up going back to the shop owner and they're like, hey, did you know that something's wrong with these glasses? And he's like, ain't nothing wrong with these glasses, because why would he believe 2 kids that, you know, are saying that these glasses are magic? So he's like, there's nothing wrong, but if you want me to, I'll perform a seance and we'll get rid of the evil spirits. And I absolutely love this part of this episode because this man completely BS'd his way through this seance, and he played it well because it was funny. It was funny to watch.
The window into another dimension. We must close the window.
But it turns out that the kids weren't lying. The glasses were in fact haunted, and because he faked this seance, it did not work, and the people from the other side do actually end up pulling them in to the evil side, and they end up trapped in this snow globe for all of eternity.
You have tampered with the cosmic seal. 2 universes cannot exist on the same plane. Balance must be restored.
They were trying to get rid of you too.
Are they gone for good? I don't think they'll be bothering you anymore.
I love the creativity on this episode, especially after the lackluster Hound episode, which came right before this one in the chronological order. It also has some nice tween comedy in there.
We've been seeing each other for what? Like a long time now, right?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
I think another reason I really like this episode is because it reminds me of one of my favorite Alter short films, which if you don't know, Alter is a channel here on YouTube that allows indie creators to kind of submit their short form stories. And the story that I'm thinking of is called The Other Side of the Box, which if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to even spoil it at all because it's an amazing piece of work. You should go support the people who made it. I'll link it below. It's a short film, so it's no more than 30 minutes. You will enjoy it. And so yeah, I just really appreciated the creativity of locking them in this globe, and oh, we didn't think that the magic was real, but it turns out to be real. Thoroughly appreciated that. Next we have number 3. Now number 3 was actually in the number 1 spot for a while until number 1 eventually came and knocked it right out. This is episode 7 and it's called The Tale of the Captured Souls. It has a black leading family in the 90s. We love to see it. They clearly did not have any black stylists on set though, because they got my girl's hair all over her head. And then again, the protagonist's hair was a mess too. Maybe they didn't have any stylists on set that day. So this story is about a family that goes on vacation to this bread and breakfast. Now I do feel like as a black family, they should have known better than to stay here in the first place, but they're not paying attention to none of the signs, so they end up staying. Because if I walk into a hotel and the hotel manager says this,
we have no other guests this week. You have the place to yourselves.
I'm walking back out the door because why is nobody else here? To me, this is such a classic retelling of a story and I really, really love it. The housekeeper slash hotel manager is noticeably young. Like very, very young. And that's obviously important or else I wouldn't mention it. Right away, the daughter starts to realize that every single thing she touches in this hotel is kind of pricking her finger.
Ouch! Sorry about that. The wiring is quite old.
Also, there are a ton of mirrors in this hotel, and it turns out that the mirrors are taking a little bit of their souls every time. And so the parents start getting really, really old way faster than the kid because she's a kid, she's youthful. It's going to take a lot longer to steal her soul than it would for the parents who are already, older. And so the parents start getting real old. I'm talking gray hair everywhere. They getting real tired. They sleeping. They can't really move like they used to. All in the span of like 24 to 48 hours. In the end, we find out that, of course, this kid is about 5 million years old, and he has survived all this time and looks so young because he's been stealing the souls of any and everybody who comes to stay at the hotel. This is a tale as old as time, no pun intended. I love the story of a good time suck / soul draining situation. One of my favorite Twilight Zone episodes is actually from the 2000s reboot, and it's The Pharaoh's Curse. And it has a storyline that's similar to this, and I remember as a kid being absolutely terrified of that episode, like OMG. It was just such a good episode. Suggest you watch it. It always creeped me out. To this day, it still creeps me out. This episode also taps into that very real fear of being spied on because of all the mirrors. He's always looking at them through the mirrors. Kid had this little transformer room, which I think every single kid in the 90s wanted a room like this because it was very prevalent in the media that we consumed, that rooms were these magical things that you can transform and all that kind of stuff. This episode is also very comical. 10 minutes in, Sis just busts out with her upper body routine for literally no reason at all, unprovoked. And I literally laughed out loud when they tried to take a picture of the kid and he busted out these boy band moves and acted like he had broken his ankle or something.
Hey, smile everybody.
No! Pete!
You okay?
What's wrong?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
And of course, he didn't want them to take the picture because it would take his soul, but it was just a hilarious scene. Coming in at number 2, we have episode 2. The Tale of Laughing in the Dark. This episode is about clowns, so off top it already has to rank high because clowns are inherently creepy. On top of that, this is about a clown who's a ghost who also lives in a fun house, and fun houses are terrifying. Again, y'all saw Us. These kids dare their friend to go into the haunted fun house, and he's like, I ain't scared of no little fun house. The clown in there is just an actor. None of this stuff is real. Like, I don't really care what y'all talking about. And so he goes into the fun house, and part of the dare is that he has to steal the clown's nose because that's proof that he didn't get scared and that he did approach the clown. And so he does that. And I already knew this was about to go downhill from the start because in any horror movie where someone is taunting the killer, in this case he's taunting the clown, you already know you about to end up the first one that's getting attacked because why are you taunting the killer? He ends up stealing the nose, and of course the clown is actually a ghost. And so on a night that the kid is left home alone, the clown ghost visits his house and like, hey Johnny, you need to go ahead and return my nose. I'm not playing with you. And so the kid gets scared because obviously he's a believer now. If he wasn't a believer before, he's a believer now. So he goes to the amusement park after dark and returns the nose to the clown. This episode would have absolutely terrified me as a child for several different reasons. The clown I already mentioned, the fun house, the fact that he had to go back to the amusement park after hours. I also am really into like abandoned places. I love to view them through a camera, not IRL because I'd be too scared, but there's something about abandoned places that are eerie and also very fascinating to me. And so the idea of this kid going into not an abandoned amusement park, but an amusement park empty and at night might as well be abandoned. So like there's a fear of that. I don't know about y'all, but as a kid, and hell, even now, being home alone is pretty terrifying. Every little noise you hear, every creak, every sound, you're gonna be like, who is that? Every time I'm home alone and I hear something, I always think to myself, this is the day that I'm gonna find out that there are froggers in my house. And all of that combined would have done it for me. There was also this distorted music at the end.
It's the most fun in the park when you're laughing in the dark.
Yeah, I would have had to check out of this episode. Also, shout out to this transition that they had that TikTok would absolutely eat up today. Finally, we have made it to number 1. I just want to say, it should be a crime that the best episode out of this season is actually the last episode of the season. Number 13 is being ranked number 1 by me. This is The Tale of the Pinball Wizard. This story follows your typical video game obsessed teenager. His game of choice is actually pinball. Pinball machines that he likes to play are actually located inside of this vintage store inside of a mall because, you know, they're old school. This kid is also kind of a latchkey kid, so he goes to the mall after school and he's up to no good. You know, he's robbing homeless people. I don't know, he doing crazy stuff inside of this mall. And he comes up with this great idea to ask the owner of the vintage shop, hey, can I have a job here? Because he really just wants to play the pinball machine all day. So he's like, hey, can I have a job here? I'll watch the shop for you, whatever. And the owner is like, no, you just want to play the pinball machine all day. Like, I'm not dumb. No, you can't work here. And so he keeps talking him down, and eventually he gets him to agree, hey, why don't you give me a trial run? You go on your lunch break, I'll watch the shop on your own lunch break. And the shop owner's like, okay, bet. This will let me know if I could trust you. If you don't play the pinball machine while I'm gone, you can have a job. Of course, the kid does end up playing the pinball machine while he's gone. In particular, he ends up playing this new pinball machine that the owner specifically told him not to play because it's vintage, it's antique, he didn't want him touching it. And the theme of this pinball is, save the princess, give her crown back, very Mario-esque. And he actually ends up playing it for way longer than that. By the time he's done and beats the game or finally runs out of quarters, the mall is actually closed. He runs outside, it's all dark, he goes to the door, doors are locked. And he's like, damn, my mom is gonna actually kill me. I have not made it home yet. So he's like, let me go ahead and call my mom. As he's on his way to call his mom on this payphone, he sees a princess and she's like, hey, help me get my crown back. And he's like, what? Help you get your crown back? He goes on and on, finally realizing, oh, this is the theme from the pinball machine. So of course he's like, I must be dreaming. This is crazy. And so we watch him go through this live action of the pinball game. He has to kill the bad guys, save the princess. He finally ends up saving her. It's all magical. And he's like, great, I can finally get out of this mall now because I saved the princess. Only for him to get spawned back to the beginning of the game. And he's like, what the hell is going on? I beat the game. Why am I back at the beginning? And then my favorite twist of this season, I gotta say. Then you see a zoom out and it turns out he's not in the mall. He's in the new pinball machine that has been designed to look like the mall because it's a magic pinball machine. And who is hovering over him? None other than the shop owner. And he's like,
you told me I could trust you, Ross. But you had to play the game, didn't you? Hope you enjoy your free games. You'll be playing them forever.
And the kid's like, what? And we see this huge pinball loading. And then the kid realizes, oh, I'm in this game literally forever. My entire life now is playing video games. Not only just video games, the same video game over and over and over again. That is a fate that, you love something until you have to be forced to do it. And every single time someone plays that game now, the kid has to be forced to play. I think that's creepy. I think that's creepy now as an adult. For as long as I can remember, I think I've had a fear of being trapped inside of something where no one's gonna know where I went and I can't get out. But like, I'm not dead, I'm still alive, I'm just trapped. It's just very eerie thought to me. I think Jumanji, honestly, if I'm being real, I think Jumanji put that fear in me because that Robin Williams, rest in peace, was trapped in that game so long that he became a child trapped inside of a grown man's body, and nobody wants that. Jumanji actually kind of scared me. Now, I think we need to give the writers of Are You Afraid of the Dark, at least from this season 1, because I don't know if the writers were the same throughout, we have to give them credit for all of the creative ways that they were able to kind of take similar stories that had similar twists and turns and people getting trapped and kind of give us a new spin on it every time. That's hard to do. They also took this idea of portals in different universes and made that unique every time, so I love that. Let me know if you watch Are You Afraid of the Dark as a kid, or if you watched anything else as a kid, any horror related things that you love, any things that kind of, made you the horror thriller lover that you are today. Maybe you have a favorite from season 1 or you have a favorite from the series overall, even if you've watched the new reboot. I do intend to eventually watch the reboot of Are You Afraid of the Dark, but until then, I declare this meeting of the Midnight Society closed. Girl, the glitter is glittering, baby. At one point, the music is way loud than their voice. For number 11, we actually insert the clip when fear meets nostalgia. Nostalgia? Why did I say it like that? Tales, and we're gonna do intro next. Only each of them get 3 individual witches, and then insert all the clips of her being obnoxious. The prom, insert the clip of him doing that. This bread and back, cute little bread and back girl is noticeably. Okay.
This is not a test. This is not a test.